Hi guys, it's Wolverine here, guys. In case you guys don't know, the things are definitely moving. Okay? Some of these platforms, they're ready to go. They're just waiting now, actually, to get the go sign or the green light, right, from the bank so they can release the funds. Okay, the codes have been sent in, right, and everything's ready to go, right, in case you guys don't know, right, there is money in the account. Definitely there is money. Okay, so that's all I can tell you at the moment, guys. I know it's very stressful for all of us, right? And like I said, I think things will start actually when Trump gets back in power. I think that makes more logical sense, right? Get rid of Biden because Biden doesn't deserve the glory, and when Trump gets in power, I think everything will start. So that's the way that I believe that things will happen. All right, so take care, guys. Just relax. It's in a few days to go. And by all means, if you haven't before, I will know. When I get that phone call that I'm waiting, then that will be real, and the opera will come out. All right, take care, guys.
What happens is whenever the United States met with a country that did not want to go along with our financial system, or they did not want to go along with the Federal Reserve banking system, then, or use the United States dollar for trade, then the United States government would send our military over to those countries and start a war. So we would start a war, and or we would put sanctions on those countries just for not wanting to play along and using the United States dollar for trade. Well, that happened with Kuwait, some of the other countries. So when the United States would send military over to those other countries and start a war, the military at the high level, people who knew what to do and knew what was really going on in the financial sense behind the scenes, would buy that country's currencies while the currency was low. So when you cause a war, like say in Kuwait, then the country's currency would become significantly devalued because of the war, and you will have decimation of the economy over there, such as in Kuwait. So military high professionals in the military, so-called elite families, billionaires all over the planet, CEOs of banks, and just billionaires all over the planet will go to those current countries, buy the devalued currency, and then wait until after the war. Hold on to the currency and wait till after the war. Then after the war, the United States would go back into the country, rebuild it, and then the country's GDP would explode. The country's currency would revalue or be reinstated to its lawful or natural value. And then those military professionals, elite people, billionaires who had bought the currency while it was devalued and decimated through war, they would then, after the war, go to the bank and exchange and get a higher exchange rate. And they became millionaires and billionaires overnight. Well, that happened as recently as 1991 in Kuwait. And now some people are just finding out about that, because whereas before only the elite knew about it, now the creator and certain people up in the military want us, we the little people, or we the everyday people, to know about these revaluation of currencies. So now that you're having a global currency reset, not to be confused with the Great Reset, the global currency reset is a resetting of the financial system, the destruction, of the SWIFT system based on the United States dollar, completely decimating it, and a resurrection of a go-back system. So now you're having a global currency reset where all the currencies worldwide are being reset back to their normal value based on the country's resources that each country has, and all the country's currencies will be one-to-one. So what is going on in the news? I see you checking in. What has most recently happened is that on February 20th, which was just 8 days ago, global banks met to prepare for Basel III compliant Tier 2 notes. Most of you are familiar with Basel III compliancy. Basel III banking compliancy just states that banks had to be monitored, and they had to institute certain regulations and rules to make sure that the banking system was lawful and fair. Okay, lawful and fair. So no longer could they do nefarious banking practices like steal your money out of the banks, trade with your money. They can no longer exact usury or interest rates on certain loans, and all of the credit policies, all of that came under fire and under scrutiny by the good people who are in power now that have decimated, or I should say taken down, the nefarious banking policies. So Basel III compliancy says that they had to first recognize gold as a tier 1 asset. Gold being a tier 1 asset means that gold now has to be recognized as money. Well, the second part of Basel III compliancy means that now that the banks had to accept or prepare for revaluation assets or revaluation reserves. And I'll go into that in a little detail right now. I'm going to show you the article that talks about. So let me show you this article right here, family. Global banks gear up for Tier 2 capital notes issuance under Basel III guidelines. A consortium of leading banks, you see this? Many of the leading banks worldwide, including BBVA, Bank of America Securities, ING, Majeed, Morgan Stanley, and Standard Chartered Bank, are set to meet with global investors on February the 20th, 2024 to assess their appetite for United States or USD denominated Basel III compliant Tier 2 notes. This strategic move aims to bolster the bank's capital structures and promote financial stability according with the Basel III guidelines. So let me break this down a little bit. These leading banks, BBVA, Bank of America Securities, ING, Majeed, Morgan Stanley, and Standard Chartered Bank all met with global investors 8 days ago to assess their appetite or preparedness for USD denominated Basel III compliant Tier 2 notes. What are Tier 2 notes? They're preparing for Tier 2 notes or to receive Tier 2 notes. Who are they going to get those Tier 2 notes from, and what are Tier 2 notes? So let me show you here. I do have an article that shows what those Tier 2 notes are. Tier 2 capital definition. There are 4 components. Okay, what is Tier 2 capital? The term Tier 2 capital refers to one of the components of a bank's required reserves. So we already know that the bank had to recognize under Basel III gold as a Tier 1 asset. So gold would be one of the things that's required for the bank to now hold. Tier 1, gold. Okay. The term Tier 2, however, refers to one of the components of a bank's required reserves that's different from gold. Tier 2 is designated as the second or supplementary layer of a bank's capital and is composed of items such as revaluation reserves. So now I'm going to read that again. Tier 2 is designated as the second or supplementary layer of a bank's capital. So the bank had at least 2 layers, the first layer being Tier 1 assets and the second layer being Tier 2 assets. And this is the supplementary level of a bank's capital, composed of items such as revaluation reserves, hybrid instruments, and subordinated term debt. It is considered less secure than Tier 1 capital, the other form of a bank's capital, because it's more difficult to liquidate. In the United States, the overall capital requirement is partially based on the weighted risk of a bank's assets. Here are 4 takeaways from this particular article. Tier 2 capital is the second layer of a capital that a bank must keep as a part of its required reserves. So now banks have to have this second layer of defense or protection, a Tier 2 asset. So that's the first component. The second component is the tier is comprised of revaluation reserves. What's a revaluation reserve? Your currency, the Iraqi dinar, the Vietnamese dong, the what else? Afghani currency, Afghanistan currency, the Afghani, Indonesian rupiah, Indian rupee, and other currencies. This tier is comprised of revaluation reserves, general provisions, subordinated term debt, and hybrid capital instruments. There are 2 levels of Tier 2 capital. There's an upper level and then there's a lower level. Tier 2 capital is subordinate to Tier 1. Tier 1, of course, is going to take precedence because it's gold. Gold is money. According to the Constitution, the only thing you can use to pay off debt are silver and gold. Silver and gold, according to the Constitution, is lawful money, right? Or they are lawful money. This is why, and I've shown you the articles, you can text it, you can look it up now, 43 states have moved to reclaim silver and gold as money because everybody's preparing. You can also look at the King Worlds article that says the whole world is hurtling back to gold. You can also look at articles that say that banks are hoarding gold in record numbers. In 2022, banks hoarded 1,136 tons of gold in the third quarter of 2022. In 2023, the third quarter, banks hoarded the second highest amount of gold ever, and nobody knew why. It was because they were preparing for Basel III compliancy to make sure they recognize gold as a Tier 1 asset. These assets protect banks against bankruptcy and against losses. So that was Tier 1. Tier 2 includes revaluation reserves. So again, upper level and lower level. The fourth component is Tier 2 capital is subordinate to Tier 1 capital and is considered riskier as it is more difficult to calculate if a bank needs to liquidate it. So I'll leave this in the description section for you to read more or further into at your leisure. In conclusion, as the consortium of banks embark on a critical mission, the eyes of the financial world will be watching. The successful issuance of Tier 2 capital notes will not only serve as bellwether for the health of the banking sector, but also a signal of the industry's adaptability in the face of evolving regulations. Why? Let me see if I can show you in this article, because the purpose of Tier 2 notes is to provide an additional buffer to protect the bank from losses and to avert bankruptcies. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, here it is. The essence of Tier 2 capital. In other words, the banks are preparing for a revaluation of currencies and a currency exchange because they need your foreign currencies, these revaluation assets, in order to bolster the bank's health and in order to protect them against losses and to protect the banks against bankruptcy. And you can see it here in the essence of Tier 2 capital. At the heart of this financial maneuvering lies the concept of Tier 2 capital, a term that resonates with significance in the corridors of global banking. Tier 2 capital, as defined under the Basel III guidelines, plays a vital role in a bank's ability to absorb losses and avert bankruptcy. So the banks need you. The banks need me to bring in our currencies, and they're going to give us an exchange rate, of course, in order to protect the bank against losses. This is why I don't support the ideologies that you need to have a non-disclosure agreement or an NDA. I don't believe you have to sign an NDA with the banks when you make these exchanges, because they need you. The bankers are now working for you. The banks now work for we the people. This is why articles have been coming out saying that a lot of banks are closing, and the ones that are remaining now are only there for wealth management purposes. You can find that article. I've reported on that. They need you. Nobody can tell you that you can't talk about your money. We are sovereign. Our republic has been restored. It's time that we start operating in our sovereignty. They need you for the health of the bank. They need you to protect themselves from bankruptcy, to protect themselves from losses. So if anybody needs to sign a non-disclosure agreement, it would be the bankers. In my eyes, they need to keep their mouth shut about what you're holding. Also, a non-disclosure agreement is only something that you sign if this is information that's not been made known to the public. Well, the public knows about the revaluation of currencies and the global currency reset now, so I don't happen to believe that you have to have a non-disclosure agreement.
Dr. Kia kindly shared this article on her YouTube video that I saw today. It's from godskingdom.org. Talks about the revaluation of the Kuwaiti dinar. They posted, 19th of July 2013. Author Dr. Stephen E. Jones. New York Times article from 1991 reporting the revaluation of the Kuwaiti dinar. When Iraq invaded Kuwait in August of 1990, the value of the Kuwaiti dinar dropped to about 5 cents. In other words, it took 20 Kuwaiti dinars to buy $1. In February of 1991, Iraq was expelled from Kuwait. And a month later, the banks revalued the currency to $3.47, the highest valued currency in the world. When this occurred, the New York Times reported the event on March 25, 1991. It still has no water and little electricity or food, but Kuwait revived its banking system today, introducing a new currency. Banks reopened for the first time since Iraqi occupation forces shut them down in December. Thousands of people lined up to exchange their old Kuwaiti dinars for crisp new ones and to withdraw a limited amount of money. All other old dinars can be exchanged for new ones on a 1-to-1 rate until May 7th. When the old dinars become invalid, the new official exchange rate is $3.47 American dollars for one new Kuwaiti dinar. At the same time, the UN put Iraq under trade sanctions, crashing the value of the Iraqi dinar IQD from $3.22 to about $4,000 to the dollar. Their currency could only be spent in Iraq itself, and the people had to carry around wads of 20,000 dinar notes to buy groceries. Then, in 2003, coalition forces invaded Iraq and overthrew Saddam Hussein. By 2004, we gave them a new currency without Saddam's picture on it. The value soon doubled and went up to 2,000 to the dollar. A few years ago, the Central Bank of Iraq managed to stabilize the value at 1,166 per dollar. On June 27, 2013, the UN removed Iraq from Chapter 7 sanctions, allowing Iraq to regain control of close to $80 billion in frozen funds that had been sitting in Western banks since 1990. This also allowed Iraq to be reinstated on the world's banking network as soon as they are ready. At the same time, many expect to see the IQD revalued at or near its former position. This was forwarded from JR on Telegram. 11th of January 2025. This all lines up perfectly. Dinar release Saturday night/Sunday in Iraq. They state that they are not connected to the fiat dollar. Monday morning, markets open up. Absolute implosion of the stock market. This weekend, emails and booking appointments in the middle of the craziness. Also forwarded from JR, 7 a.m. in Baghdad. Alert! Expect the rate to be dropped in hours to come. Get your popcorn. Alert! To create the collapse of the fiat dollar, to spike all currencies globally, it's got to happen. It can't collapse under Trump, or his whole savior narrative will be gone to wake the rest of the sleep. I wish I had screen recorded this picture or shared on X. I can't remember what date, but I'm sure it was this week. Or it was either Saturday or Friday. Look at that. 589, 13th of January, 25. Ooh. It was actually deleted on X. Apparently, I just took a picture of it on a Zoom call with my Telegram group. And one of the huggers, that group I'm part of, he had a copy of it. So I just took a picture of it.
Original Mark Z heard from a few other podcasters. RB not going to happen until after Trump is sworn in, stating he won't let Biden get credit for wealth influx. Your thoughts? It's possible. Mr. C is of that belief that it will wait until right after. My banking sources seem to think that there is a good possibility of a rate change this evening. late this evening, which always fits with the best time to do this. I've been told is between 11 p.m. Eastern and 2 a.m. Eastern on a Saturday night into a Sunday morning would be their preferential time to pull it. So maybe that fits with what they're being told. I don't know what to tell you. I know a number of bond contacts are now telling me very clearly 21st, 22nd, but they're about split. Is it possible? It's very possible. We have to be prepared no matter which way it goes. Rates, baskets, they're watching the currencies around to see. They're trying to get an idea of what to expect when they add it to the basket. In other words, when they go fully international, that they are having that conversation, preparing with said currencies. We've talked about them some in the past. I don't want to get myself in trouble, so unless I go through notes very meticulously, I don't want to go into exactly which ones. We know some of them. We've been told Jordanian, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi currencies for certain in that basket with them. Kuwait did a similar approach when they revalued their currency, and you saw its effects. It was huge. Iraq is positioning to do something nearly identical, and now they are planning their reinstatement. So for me, it's very exciting to watch because we know it works. The most valuable currency in the world did it this way.
Posted on the Chosen One's Telegram. Shafiq News, source -Trump. Envoy expected to visit Iraq with security message for PM Sudani. Ooh, the world is coming for you. January 11th, 2025, 8:41 p.m. Digital Assets Daily on X, 11th January 2025. Majeed, Finance is reassured about the salaries of employment secured during 2025. The chairman of the Finance Committee, Atwan al-Atawani, confirmed on Saturday that Finance Minister Taif Sami confirmed that the salaries of employees are secured during 2025. Al-Atwani said in a statement followed by the information agency that Minister of Finance Taif Sami confirmed during her hosting within the Parliamentary Finance Committee that the salaries of employees are secured during 2025. He added, "We have formed a subcommittee to follow up the dues of the Kurdistan region for the year 2024-2025, adding that the committee will submit at its meeting next Monday report on the amendment of Article 1211, Paragraph C of the General Budget Law. The Parliamentary Finance Committee hosted today Finance Minister Taif Sami to discuss the 2025 budget schedules and secure the salaries of employees." Dinar, Revaluation on X, January 11th, 2025, 3:30 p.m. Let's go Iraq, amending policies, corruption cleanup and salary resolutions. The Kurdistan Region's Council of Ministers has criticized Baghdad's policy towards the region, describing it as unfair and contradictory to the Iraqi constitution and incompatible with the federal system. The Council stressed the urgent need to amend this policy, which it believes undermines the region's rights and standing. The Council also announced that a delegation from the Kurdistan region's representatives in Baghdad will meet with the Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shiad al-Sudani to present the KRG's message, calling for the region to be treated as a federal and constitutional entity, while also addressing the resolution of salary payments for 2025. Article forwarded from BRICS News. Justin, US intervened to stop Greenland rare earths developer from being sold to China. Is there a race for minerals? Majeed on X, 9:35 a.m., January 12th, 2025. Alert, alert, alert. They approved the retirement law today and said this law shall be published in the official gazette and shall be effective from the date of its approval. That's weird. They are meeting today on weekend and approving laws. So, in the name of the people, presidency. Based on what was approved by the House of Representatives in accordance with the provisions of Clause 2nd of Article 60 and Clause 3rd of Article 73 of the Constitution, issuing the following law for the year 2024. Proposed Second Amendment Law to Unified Retirement Law Number 9 of 2014. Article 1 of Law Number 26 of 2019, the First Amendment Law to the Unified Retirement Law Number 1 of 2014, shall be cancelled and replaced by the following. Article 10, the employee must be referred to retirement in one of the following two cases. First, upon reaching the age of 63, which is the legal age for retirement regardless of the length of his service. Second, if the official medical committee decides that he is not fit for service. Article 2, Clause 2nd of Article 2 of Law Number 26 of 2019, the First Amendment Law, Unified Retirement Law Number 9 of 2014 shall be cancelled and replaced with the following. Second, the legal age for retirement stipulated in Clause A of this article shall be completion of 65 years of age except for paragraph D, in which case the retirement age shall not exceed 67 years of age. Article, this law shall be published in the Official Gazette and shall be effective from the date of its approval. Positive reasons. The purpose is to restore the legal mandatory retirement age and benefit from the expertise and competencies of public sector workers. This law was enacted. Gail comments they moved the meeting up from Monday to Sunday? No. Okay, I thought they did. These are old dates, and regardless retire at 67 is a joke. You are dead at that point. This is bogus info. Do you guys actually read? A season of miracles and blessings is on the horizon. New doors will open. New relationships will blossom. Goals will be reached. Prayers will be answered. Express yourself with joy. It is done. Healing Energy Tools.